be a short meeting then.
No.
All right, it started the recording. This is the February 22nd, 2021 meeting of the ROS Tooling Working Group. Let's see, I'll just write down attendance. In terms of action items from that, oh, I'm not sharing my screen, but I'm not sure how, oh, okay, I'll start. Okay, so, oh, and also there's Christoph here. Hello.
Hey.
So I'm looking at action items from last time. We don't have any. We just had a, really we had two topics of conversation last time, and that was the ROS bag 2 backport and stuff about CI systems. We have had the discourse post out there talking about fast forwarding ROS bag 2, and it's been a lively discussion, and I see the merit on like both sides of it, which is why it's hard to just come to a decision. It's unfortunate that Karsten can't be here today. He just sent me an email giving his thoughts on the matter, and I think I'm going to just copy paste that as notes. Hopefully he doesn't mind. Okay, so I don't even know if we should come to a decision today on that. Do either of you on the line have thoughts about how we should approach it? What Karsten suggested was that it would be nice to have a PPA with the new version of the package for those who want to try it, to use it, which makes sense. He also said anyone who wants to use the newest ROS bag 2 could theoretically run it in a rolling Docker container and record their foxy data. It shouldn't be a problem. I'm pretty sure that's okay, but we would have to test that before recommending it to anybody.
Yeah. So this is backport into Foxy. So it's Foxy's the latest long-term release, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, let me also link the discourse item, which there we go, is so that's where we stand with that. Is I was able to get an ABI report. You know, basically it says whatever 82% compatible, which to me means not compatible. It's going to break people's builds. You know, it feels unlikely that there are that many builds that are going to be broken, but it would be ideal to not even run that chance. I do really respect like Kyle Fazari's opinion on this discussion here, and he brings up good points about like, yeah, it's just, you know, people are going to scream the moment you break the stuff they're going to scream about, and until then you're not going to know, which is, and also, you know, it's unusable is the excuse that every person who's ever broken anything has used, which maybe comes from being too close to the problem. Although, you know, we've got other community feedback that yes, it drops data and this should be considered a bug, but maybe we need to take a more directed approach and just backport like selectively some of the performance improvements, which themselves were actually not that big. Like there was some of the default SQLite settings, and then there was the the double buffer for the writer, and maybe those would be backportable on their own. In which case, if we could select those, I just feel like I'm not ready to pull the trigger on this yet.
Yeah.
But whatever we do, someone's going to have to do it. And I think we have very few people actually actively working on this sort of thing. There's a lot of people who have an opinion, but not a lot of people who have development cycles to spend.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this is one of those things where like somebody who's like brand new to ROS and just getting involved is gonna like if we do like a workaround like you said like the rolling Docker container or something like they'll be just getting into ROS and like learning all the basics. They won't really have like a good map in their head about what's what, and
Uh-huh.
they'll learn that as like, well, this is just the way to do it.
Yep, exactly. And
And
we
then
really
carry
don't want to.
that on your
Yeah, we
future
don't want to
ROS.
have this precedent. Like once you get into H, I mean, I want to, if possible, um, bump ROSBEG 2 to version 1.0 and put a quality level declaration on it for the Galactic release so that we've actually explicitly made promises not to break the API so that this conversation can't really happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, given that it's only a minor version and we haven't declared the quality version, the only promise that's keeping us to the API that's allowing this conversation to happen is the fact that we try to keep the ROS2 distros stable.
Right.
Whereas there's sort of a hard promise built in once you declare those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for now, I think maybe I would like to see over the next week or two if I am able to do a much more minimal backport that still hits some of the performance goals. Maybe we can backport the performance testing package as well. I wish we had. I feel like it would be helpful to have some of the folks who worked on that in the room. So I think I might punt this to the next working group meeting and see if we can get more people in the room then. That being said, yeah, go ahead.
He was just doing compression stuff, right?
Yeah. We're going to come to a conclusion. That's the word. Going to investigate separate PPA and yeah, I don't feel that everything on master needs to go back to Foxy. Like some of the stuff, like the compression implementation is a plugin now. It's like that's a new feature that can go in Galactic. Folks in Foxy don't need it, but separate PPA with new package, rolling Galactic recorder in container, and the last one was minimal directed backport for performance improvements only. And I'm starting to feel like maybe that surgical option is the best way to go about it. The other option, maybe with backporting the entire thing, is providing a header shim that's identical to what's on Foxy and like doing a little translation under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably difficult because some things change in subtle ways. So I'm gonna look into these this week, unless and that being said, then do you two on the line have any specific things you wanted to talk about in the while we're live today?
Not really. Well, last week you said you basically approved the pull request for the design document for the multi-machine launching that had started. But then you said you're not the one who does that merge.
Yeah, I'm not like one of the maintainers on ROS2 design. I was just saying it looks good to me now, and I was happy to provide feedback along the way. But at the end of the day, let's see. It needs to be one of the ROS Open Robotics maintainers. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure who exactly has merge access. ROS2 design. It's hidden to me, I don't have access to the repository settings. But if we look at contributors, it's William and Tully are probably your best bets. Maybe Chris. He's the Galactic ROS boss, but I don't know if this is something that makes it into Galactic. What's your planned timeline on that?
Galactic's what, May?
Yeah. And yeah, so that's I think when the final cut is for any external stuff, but anything that's in the ROS2 core, we've got a sort of a sooner cutoff date for the API freeze, which is I think early April.
Yeah, it's probably a bit too soon. We're still working on getting the initial refactor from Roger Graham's PRs. I mean, he's at the point where he's doing testing, so I'm working on helping him test that, and ramping up my own understanding of the code now to actually start the implementation. But so we should be able to start actually working on it soon. But I don't think it'll make it into Galactic. That's a bit too soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think we should probably just. So we have reviewers, and William did comment on this at one point, and Tomoya Fujita, I don't know if he's a maintainer on design now, but he did get added as a maintainer to some of the core packages, so maybe he has some ability here. Jason, nope. He was on our team and now is not working on ROS. So, yeah, maybe I'll just ping. Let's ping William.
Okay.
And Tomoya. Although, yeah, coming into releases, you always, like, anything that's not in the distro coming out gets pushed to the side. So, I mean, we might be far enough out that we can get some attention on it.
Maybe this isn't the appropriate time to try to merge it in if it's going to be labeled part of Galactic having.
Yeah, do you want to ping them or do you want me to do it?
I can ping them.
Yeah, like that's the three who I think
okay.
I would ping them. Like I don't think that Kyle has merge access here either, but it was he had input at the beginning, so it'd be nice to pull him.
Yeah, maybe they'll at least know who it does.
Yeah, so well he runs the security working group, and so I think he was just interested in how this integrated with security.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe interesting to pull him back in, but probably at least these two. William's definitely got merge access on everything, but he also is the maintainer on far too many things, so sometimes it takes a long time to get to stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I would say.
All right, thank you. I'll try to follow up with that soon.
Yeah, and I mean maybe I don't know who else weighed in on this. I think it's just those folks. There's BJ. Yeah, I mean, there's like names that come to mind, but I don't know if they're actually the right people to ping for this. I have also had difficulty in the past with design, and I even noticed recently that an internal project they're doing for type masquerading is going through rep rather than through design for the feature design. And I'm wondering if they're trying to phase this out, but that's something they should tell us explicitly, like the community needs to be part of this process. So let's just bother someone until someone gets involved.
That sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so that's that. Also, I assume we have some interest in the reindexer, which that one I approved this week. I was a little slow in my responses because I was out on, I was hitting the slopes. Okay, so we've got test failure on Mac. We'll see how Windows goes. It might have some warnings. That always is what happens to me with features, is the Windows build is slightly finicky in a weird way. But we're good to go. I can work through those. And hopefully Jacob can get started on the CLI. And so I think we're good on that.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else we want to talk about? Christoph, did you have anything that needs attention?
Maybe just PR 526 under Action ROS CI. There was an open question, I think.
Oh yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at it. That's the one where we're wondering about the Colcon defaults, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you can provide a block that you can then just parse as YAML, which would be nice. Or maybe you don't even need to parse it. You can just take the text block. Yeah, I'll make a point uh, of trying this out today. It's a quick experiment, and if it doesn't work, then we can move forward with this existing option, if that sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, 13 hours. Yes.
So the Ross bag is everything. My meeting Wednesday, another person I'm working with, D. Anthony, has PR 666. He was trying to get some attention on that, I think, but
For which repository?
Ross bag 2.
Oh, okay.
The pause play. I don't remember exactly what he wanted. I just want to call attention to it since.
Oh yeah, and he's trying to merge it to Mabel Zhang's branch, and he needs a reviewer on here. I don't think Mabel is like actually working on this stuff anymore, which is why she invited him to merge to her branch. Yeah, okay. I'll request review from these three here. And yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, so one of the major problems with this feature set was that originally it was put forward as just too big of a PR, like it's hard to review these very large things. And like with Jacob, we broke it up into two independent atomic features that were easier to review. And as you could see, the review process can still be difficult just to keep code up to quality. It takes a while. And so that's why these larger reviews, it's like I never end up getting around to the review because I can't give the whole thing the rigor that it deserves.
Yeah.
And so this one, I'm not sure. So most of these changes to me look like fast forwards from the latest code onto this branch. And then I think that there's it's just behind master by a lot. So I think his is mostly updating it. But what I want to do, can I compare this? I don't want to create a pull request. I just want to look at it. Sorry. Yeah. So maybe we should just get this updated, take a look, and make sure that it's not too many things. Because at first it was like adding keyboard control and a command line option and the C++ core, and I'm like, this is this keyboard control. I don't agree with this portion of the feature, but it shouldn't block this other part.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that was. There's only 20 PRs open. Playback pause feature from Mabel Zhang. There we go. We had some conversation. I think mostly Karsten was the one giving feedback on this early on. And it doesn't look that big now. So, okay, maybe this does need a... okay. I'll take a look at a second pass of both of these, especially if... the D. Anthony's one is just mostly a fast forward and a bit of a tweak. We should probably just merge it into this feature branch so that we can review the feature branch properly. I won't put too much rigor on that, and we can do a review at the top level.
That makes sense.
Cool. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Review pass on this. Resolve. Paste. Wow. is happening? Okay, apparently just browser bar. There we go. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so yeah, I'll make sure to give attention to both of these things today. Now that I'm back, and unless there's anything else specifically we want to talk about, I think it's maybe worth taking the time to just take a look at new issues that came in.
Yeah, that's all I've got. So.
Okay. Yeah. So you're. Is D'Anthony that user also at DCS with you?
No, he's at Sweary Southwest.
Oh, who's contracting?
So yeah,
Okay.
we're all sort of contractors all bundled up in the same thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was trying to get the context because I had been giving the update I was giving the update in the TSC meeting, like, oh, we got some folks from DCS, and then they're like, wait, who's that again? Oh, they're working with Sweary.
Yeah.
Okay, it started to make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Jacob and I are DCS, and then D'Anthony and Roger are Sweary.
Okay.
DJ was Sweary, but now he's moved on to another robotics group.
Oh yeah, but it seemed like he was still working, or I guess he got in all the stuff he was working on, all the compression stuff.
Yeah, I think it's still a robotics group, so they're still invested, I think, in ROS 2.
Yep.
Just be a different part of ROS 2 at the moment.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. I think we need to deprecate this launch ROS sandbox. This is not good. I'm going to make a little note. Maybe action item. Deprecating launch ROS sandbox. This was like a little experiment that we built for ROSCon. To launch nodes in containers, but it kind of, I don't know, is a little awkward in the implementation and could have used a better design pass first.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so I'm also not going to look at this. 15 new things. These are pull requests, which I don't want to see right now. 14 new things. I also don't really want to look at that. Okay, let's just switch the says to do vendor patch command to use git apply. Yes, this does seem sensible. This is just a simple. We're using the patch command, and on Windows that can be awkward. So it is better if we just git apply like some of these other vendor packages do. So I'm going to put this in the backlog, and I'll consider it a bug, so I'll move to the top. Mixed QoS settings used for ROSBEG to play. Yes, in this one I put a really big wall of text on. For context for this right now, ROSBEG 2, when it records a topic that has multiple publishers with different QoS settings, right now it gives up, or it just chooses a default QoS for playing back because it only uses a single publisher. The way to fix this is that we can get a publisher ID from every message, which means that we can actually know which publishers they came from, and we already know which publishers have which QoS profiles. So we could store for the messages which publisher they came from in the recording, and at playback time actually have multiple publishers with different QoS settings, which would far more accurately reproduce the original setup. If we did that for all topics, actually, it would more accurately reproduce the original setup. It would be pretty different than ROS 1, where it's really just like one subscription, one publisher. We would still only have one subscription, but we'd start to get to the point where we have, the same number of publishers in the output, in the playback, as we did in the original system. Might not be necessary if it's all the same QoS profile, though. Maybe only like one publisher per
Yeah, if we
unique
could
profile.
group them by profiles.
I think you can't. We can't. We could just fine. The original implementation might be simpler if we didn't have to compare profiles for equality, but we're already comparing profiles for equality, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, we already have that ability. So this feature is now possible, or yeah, we know that this feature is possible. Ooh, it's just going to take some building to build and some design to figure out where that extra metadata goes in the bag file, for example. So this one is an enhancement that probably is lower on the backlog right now, because the user does have the ability to at least manually set QoS for all output. And this is one that we're talking about right now. So that was, yeah, I would really like it if we could do this. I think we're gonna be able to, but I have to apply my my action foo to make sure that it is possible. I was just, yeah. Okay. So I'm making a point of looking at this today. This is in progress, or it's even in review right now. Bag splitting blocks the writer, and so this is a performance concern. Yes, and also checking for whether to split, which was a different opened issue. Is adding a huge performance overhead, which is interesting. Unable to access private dependencies. Yeah. So this one, we came up with a workaround, which was nice, by configuring GitHub to redirect to their token. I'm going to change this, yes, from bug to enhancement, and edit the title to say, automatically allow access, and let's say below, and feature request. Created from bug report. And maybe we just configure their Git for them. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna put this in the backlog. Improving performance of should split bag file. This is one I was talking about. Performance enhancement, because right now it's adding apparently a pretty huge overhead just checking whether the current size of the bag on every message. Which getting rid of that seems like a really easy way to improve performance even more.
So is this splitting by recording size as opposed to time chunks? Okay.
So when you're splitting by duration, you don't have this problem. But if you're splitting by size, the check to the size on every message is adding like double the overhead you already had. So it's like doubling the or having the performance just making that check, which is silly.
Yeah. You can't really just assume all the messages of a certain type are going to be the same size, can you?
No, but checking the message size isn't the problem. It's just checking the current bag size that's causing the issue.
Right, but if you knew the message size, you could it'd be quicker to count the messages that have added. And
that's one of the suggestions here, is to just have a running counter and not actually query the database for its size, but to just keep adding the message size until you hit a size, and either disregard the overhead from the storage implementation or query that once somehow. I'm guessing with SQLite, the overhead is either a constant or a constant multiplier, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's the one thing we'd have to figure out here, because we do want it to stay reasonably accurate. Like splitting by size is meant to be within a bit already, but you want to keep it close.
Yeah.
Okay, so zero copy transport. Which means that you need to give loaned messages. I don't know if this is a bug. This to me sounds like an enhancement. Let's see. So, recording, take a loaned message, serialize it, and save it to disk. Replay, deserialize the stored message, and publish it. Yeah, this seems like not a bug. And a repro case would be really helpful of like exactly what do we do where it doesn't work. Oh, never mind, you opened a thing a week ago. And yeah, okay. So I'm going to take a look at this today also. So put this into apparently in progress, except the thing is I was not able to build master against Foxy, which I don't know why this comes up as often as it does.
People trying to build against the release instead of the development.
Instead of against latest, it's like it doesn't work against release. That is true.
Yes, you've correctly identified fact.
It comes up more often than I would think.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's gonna need smooth breaking change between Foxy and master. Oh, yeah. So this is QoS profiles recorded from fast DDS are unplayable in Cyclone, and vice versa. And this has to do with I'm sort of working on this right now by trying to clarify in the RMW API at that low level what the infinity constant is for example, QoS deadline and the other ones that use durations, because by default they default to infinity, but the values being returned by all the DDS implementations are different for that, and we're just writing it out as a raw value. And like the infinity value that FastRTPS reports is an invalid QoS duration for Cyclone.
Not something that should be in like the DDS standard. Like
there is, and none of the implementations return the same value that the standard specifies. They're all returning different values that aren't the standard one, which is really confusing.
Okay, so if somebody were to follow the standard, that would also not work with any of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, another brand new representation.
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now on RMW is adding a ROS2 specific constant that means infinity, and saying in the API that all of the RMW implementations must use that constant when they mean infinity, so that we can translate at the ROS2 level.
Are you just going to pick the one from the actual DDS standard and?
I'm not actually, because the one from the DDS standard, the way they represent times is as like a signed integer and then an unsigned integer, and we're trying to mostly represent times as a single signed int64 representing nanoseconds since the whatever time point you're choosing. In the case of duration, it's just relative time. And so what I've done is I've presented int64 max as the thing, whereas the DDS standard suggests int32 max and int32 max. But so int32 max seconds and then int32 max nanoseconds, which is actually greater than a second. And so when you're using that, it's like a non-normalized time because the nanoseconds field is greater than 1 second's worth of nanoseconds, and it adds up to a number that doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I didn't end up choosing it for the ROS2 side. Is the only reason. It happens to be the same one that Cyclone chose, but not the same one that FastDDS chose. But the important part is that they know they exist and have to return them from the RMW APIs. Anyways, once that's fixed, I'm still gonna have to just add a workaround for old recorded bags that have these values and say, like, if it's the Cyclone infinity value, use infinity. If it's the FastDDS infinity value, use ROS infinity. If it's I think I'll just be adding special cases in there and saying, like, this is just for backwards compatibility with bags that have this bad value.
Is that, do you want to do that, or do you want to, like, make a tool that just converts the ROS bag to the new version? Like, this is an outdated version of the ROS bag. Would you like to update? And then
yeah, you could.
And then not have the code be messy with all those special cases that should hopefully be removed someday, but won't probably.
Yeah, well, the problem is, like, people are probably still going to be playing these Foxy bags for all time. Yeah, maybe you want a convert tool that, I guess, the problem is it's, like, on the publisher metadata. And I guess we could then just do a pass up front and say, hey, this publisher metadata looks like it has outdated values of infinity. Run ROS2 bag convert, and it'll fix that for you to make it replayable. Maybe that makes more sense than adding it into the runtime.
Yeah.
But it is just, it's not a check that has to happen on every message. It's just a check that has to happen on publisher creation. So it's a startup overhead only, which is negligible. But it is a little bit of messy code, but it's well contained in the QoS profile portion. Like, constructing the profile function says, check on these couple of special values for old bags. And it can be for a specific metadata version, like the current version, and then we'll bump the version for the next release, and then you don't have to make that check even on later versions of the bags. Anyways, yeah, this has to get fixed somehow, and just fixing the underlying RMW stuff isn't going to do it because those values are already written into bags.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. It bummed me out when I learned about it. I'm like, why does the DDS standard have this value if no one's using it?
Right. Some standard, I guess.
Okay. Backport performance improvements to Foxy. That's in progress, and I'm mostly the one leading the charge here. So that's what we were talking about at the beginning of how do we want to solve this. I've got a bit of homework for the upcoming week to try and come up with our options and present them next time. Say, here's the 3 ones. Which one do we want to go with?
Yeah, when you run that ABI compatibility tester, does it point you to, like, all the specific places that are causing the mismatches?
Yeah, let's see where. Yeah, it points you to the code. So let's see, what did I say? I was able to get it running. Oh, it was this. and it says like these symbols were added. Added symbols not a problem. Removed symbols is a problem. Yeah, like reader open was changed to a different. So it doesn't point you to the exact line, but it tells you the function names, so that's close enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, same with problem with data types. And they seem, most of these are actually just that one type moved to another namespace. It's like we moved storage options from ROSpec2 CPP into ROSpec2 storage. And that's what I think like 10 out of 12 of these signature changes are just that option moving to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that'd be pretty easy to fix. But some of these other ones, I'm not so sure about. Yeah, so it's not easy to read, but it does present you with all the stuff. Low severity. See, that's interesting. Why is it low severity? Maybe because it's private or protected. So that's worth a read through. But basically, what it's telling us right now is that API is not compatible. ABI is definitely not compatible. You're not going to be able to link against this thing without changing your code if you built against it. ROSbag snapshot. Yeah. Someone suggested this, and I'm like, yeah, that's a really cool feature that nobody is going to have time to build anytime soon, I don't think. But basically, it keeps a circular buffer of the incoming messages rather than writing everything to disk, and on request will write the current buffer to disk so that it gets the last 10 seconds rather than everything over time. So you only record when something interesting happens.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I think that's how like the dash cams work in cars.
Yeah. So it's like that. What is it? That NVIDIA game recording thing. Forget what it's called, but like.
Oh, is that the same way? Like it records the last minute or something, and then if something interesting happens, you say, yeah, save that.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if we should put some of the details into the
shadow play is what they call it.
Shadow play. Cool. Yeah. I'd like to have more details of feature on this ticket itself into bottom of backlog for now. That's all I have to say about that. Cross compile. We can edit this issue to say. Ooh, yeah, I don't. Apparently, this tool only supports. To target platforms. I'm just gonna say that we're gonna keep this in new issues so that I see it again. Maybe they'll close it, or maybe they'll say, let's keep it open. How to set up launch arguments for multiple topics. This is, to me, a ROS answers question. I always feel kind of like a jerk saying, hey, you should not ask this in a GitHub issue. You should go to ROS answers. Yeah. But it's also like, this is just a question about how to use launch, and it's not really a question about how to use ROSbag2. And so as much as I want to be helpful, I also don't want to have this be a customer support forum.
Right. I usually give an answer and say in the future this is a better question to ask. Or sorry at the beginning, say this is a better question for this place, but
Yeah.
and then give them an answer or at least a link to an answer. But I don't just like to dismiss it because I always get annoyed when I'm like searching for something.
Yeah.
I get like an error message. I like find like the exact problem I'm having like word for word. And you go there, it's just a bunch of people saying like, "Oh, go ask somewhere else."
Yeah. So I mean, in this case, it's something like, what do they have? They have launch configuration topics. You just need to split the input into multiple. Split the input by spaces for single. Something like they've got command. That's the important bit. Oh, the problem is that since it's a launch configuration, you don't have the value at runtime. Otherwise, I was going to say, like, this plus split. Yeah. Yep. I don't know exactly how to do this off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a way. But it seems like the problem is just that it thinks that this is a single topic with spaces in it because of the way the process is launched. Ugh, all right. I don't know. This is definitely a better question for ROS answers, and I don't have an answer right now. Send to top. This is weird. Fact, I don't have anything more helpful to add right now. Other than that, that's not a feature. Maybe if they want it, we can turn this into an enhancement request and put help wanted on it. To write and read, which means that they're not using like this command line, they're just writing messages. You know what this also suggests to me is that there's somebody out there using the C++ APIs, perhaps in Foxy, which means the backport would break this person.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say, detailed information about your feature request. And I'll just say labels more information needed. think that's everything on the list, and that's everything I wanted to talk about today.
Yep. I'm good.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Matt, for helping
Mm-hmm.
discuss through these issues. That's it's useful to have another person.
Yeah. No, I enjoy these meetings.
Yeah.
Apparently at the TSC meeting, they're saying like a lot of the working groups aren't being productive. I feel like
It's
this is an
difficult.
exception.
It's a tough model. I don't know. I've had a hard time with that with this working group as well. Is we have folks who come in for sort of a targeted enhancement, and then this is a useful forum to help give them review and design feedback. But we don't really have an ongoing core group of contributors. It's like me running this, and then Karsten was working a lot on ROSBEG too, but he's been busy on ROS control for a while now.
I mean, this working group's been super useful, at least for me and our group.
I think it makes sense for ROSBEG too. Like, it's such an important feature that that it's useful to have a forum just to talk about that. Although I think we maybe got ourselves in a bit of a weird spot where now Open Robotics doesn't get involved with it at all. Sometimes Michael Geronimo comes in. He was assigned maintainer, but I think we did a thing where it wasn't me, but one of some of the folks at Amazon who were talking about starting this working group originally. We're like, you guys don't worry about ROSBEG, we'll take care of it. And then it's like, all right, now that changes a lot depending on
by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But it is what it is. We're making progress. I think it's been useful. Like, just having this forum helps us get a lot of these features in from folks like yourself and Jacob. And
I was saying, like, I feel like this is one of the few working groups that doesn't have that issue of not being useful. Because like some of my other coworkers attend like the other groups that sit in them. It's like they don't really do anything.
Yeah, I mean, navigation and control, they have really directed projects and roadmaps. I haven't yet. Middleware, I'd like to go to more, but I've missed a lot of the meetings. But it seems like that one is useful too, in that it like you get some live time to discuss a pull request or whatever. But that's also like ROS2 core stuff. I haven't been in the other ones like real time safety, Edge AI, embedded.
Do they have something like we've got our breakout weeks? Because I really like that addition.
Yeah,
it makes working group really useful for.
I think that some of them have done that, or some of them just say like, this meeting we're talking about this topic. I find that I like to keep on top of this backlog, as as overwhelming as it is to have 109 issues in there. At least we've got it. So that's why I like to take the time during the regular meetings and sort of have them be not one detailed discussion, but a lot of small discussions, and then you get the one detailed discussion on the off weeks. Speaking of which, we don't have a breakout session scheduled. We got some ideas.
Yeah.
But one of these is like,
Once I get into implementation, there'll probably be a cause for a bunch that isn't working through.
Exactly. It's easier there when you can like dig into some code. Okay, well, for now, we'll have the plan to just meet up again in 2 weeks. And 2021, this will be March 12th.
March already.
Yep. It happens fast. Okay. Final decision on...
So how many more of these are there then before we start freezing code? 2?
Let's see. ROS2 Galactic Roadmap. Oh, this is not distributions. Galactic's not on here. there is a page, but I never know exactly which page it is. There it is. Okay, Galactic. So dates. March 22nd is Alpha, which doesn't mean too much, but it doesn't mean we have to bloom release everything to try it out. You ideally want to have most of your features in the core done by then. April 5th is the API freeze for the core. That's not relevant for ROS Bag 2, which is not in core, it's in base.
Okay.
April 19th is the branch beta. So we really want to have everything in by April 26th. And they've got a release candidate for a week on May 16th. So yeah, this is updated releases ROS desktop, which ROS Bag 2 fits into desktop. So ideally, it's not a feature freeze for desktop. It's just saying we should have packages out there so that testing can commence. But ideally, I'll want to have all features in by April 26th for ROS Bag 2 and April 5th for the core, which is why I'm sort of scrambling on this RMW Infinity stuff.
Yeah.
Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks-ish until the core freeze. How many more working group meetings was the question? So one on the 12th, one on the 26th,
2, maybe 3.
One on the April 9th, and then one on the 23rd. So we'll have 4 more meetings before we want to have ROS Bag 2 out in the world, and like 2 more. The 3rd one will be right after the core freeze. So yeah, cool. Galactic. It's happening. I'm curious to see what the logo looks like.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, thanks, Matt. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Talk to you later.